1/5 of all of you Americans plan to bet on a professional football game, but nearly 67% think fantasy football requires too much effort. New game, HotRoster. It's launching this weekend, wants to change all that, making it easier for you to bet and make money. Joining us now in a Fox Business exclusive, HotRoster co-creator and the man who helped launch the iPhone in 2007. Hi, Chuck. Chuck Goldman, great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Well, how do you go from launching the iPhone to a couple of years later getting involved in HotRoster, which is a pretty fascinating way that changes the face of fantasy football?
You know, working for Apple is a tremendous experience. We got to work on some incredible projects. What we saw, we're all athletes, and we saw a real opportunity to take the complexity out of fantasy sports. And you know, there's a lot of back end, a lot of complexities, there's a lot of security, compliance issues on the back end, but we really are all about the consumer, and we learned that from Apple, and we wanted to deliver that amazingly easy experience to play fantasy sports on a mobile platform.
Well, yeah, I mean, compliance makes it difficult for you guys, but fantasy football traditionally is very complicated. Every week you have to figure out the salary caps and you have to pick players. How does yours work? Just 4 to 10 players, correct? And you're not playing against the millions of users out there. You're playing against the house, you guys.
Yeah, that's correct. So, you know, the fantasy itself is very complex still. You know, managing a salary cap, that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. You know, you have to be a pretty intense fantasy player. But what we wanted to take a totally different approach. You know, we wanted to make fantasy sports available for everyone and make it really everyone's fantasy. We wanted to appeal to the Candy Crusher as much as we do to the hardcore fantasy gamer, if that makes sense.
On your screen, we show a phone, and what you guys do is you present 2 different players from whom to choose. These are similar players, so you have 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, and then the player has to pick one of those and sort of pick and match. So they can't actually create their own player teams. It has to be the choices that you give them between those choices.
That's right. We have a legendary guy working with us. He's amazing. His name's Kenny White. He's been setting matchups since he was 18. He sets the line in Vegas. And what we thought about this, and we said, look, you know, a lot of people are busy. They don't have the time to manage all these rosters. And, you know, they're competing against people at home, like running pivot tables and crazy stuff and very complex stuff. They're looking at the weather. And, you know, what we did is we said, look, we're going to match these up for you, and we're going to make it super easy to swipe left, swipe right, pick who you want. Within seconds, you choose who you want. You have to pick 4 players, and as soon as you pick those 4 players, you lock in your card and you play.
Well, Chuck, how do I make money? I was looking on your site, which is going live this weekend, correct? And it said for $1, you could potentially win $500. How do you guys make money on, I guess, the plays that don't go well for the players, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, so, you know, like the rest of the fantasy world, we do take a commission. We take a small cut of every
how much
of every roster. That it's about 10% of everything that gets submitted. So it's similar to the others out there. But we feel that our game is completely different. The odds are much better in that you're playing basically essentially against yourself with odds that are 50-50 largely.
Well, it's HotRoster. Tell Kenny we said hi. We got a guy, Kenny White. I love it. We got to get Kenny on. Chuck, good luck to you this weekend. I hope the site goes well and everything associated with this. Keep us posted, and I'm picking all Cleveland Browns all the time.
Surprise,
That's right.
surprise.
Give it a shot. I hope you guys give it a shot. You're going to love the platform, and thanks so much for having me.
Anytime. Chuck Goldman, who helped really launch the iPhone.
He did. And speaking of gambling.